Tēnā ki tātou i te whānau. So I want to read, I'm actually going to give a review of a book that I have reviewed. It was written by Logan Campbell. He was a very renowned merchant, trader, politician, mayor of Auckland back in the 1800s. He also happens to be the Pākehā rangatira or ancestor of one of my karawa. So he is a rangatira Pākehā. This is what we would say in Te Reo Māori, a noble Englishman, only he wasn't actually English. He actually came from Scotland, from a place called the Highlands. And so, I just wanted to acknowledge, just with respect to my position as a kairangahau Māori, with, now reclaiming my sense of tangata tiriti. I acknowledge my non-Māori Anglo-Saxon, English, Scottish, Tipuna ancestors, and the way in which they have enriched, but also shaped and influenced my perspective, but also my position as a mokopuna, as a kairangahau Māori, someone who is now undertaking research which is beneficial, relevant, useful, of benefit to my whānau, but more importantly my hapu. And so I just want to read a very interesting chant that was composed for rangatira by the name of Wepiha. Wepiha William Webster. He was the most important trader, Pākehā, and hauraki, and a very close friend of Logan Campbell. So this is a morning chant or lament. He tangi, he poroporo aki, pia tēnei, ki te rangatira nei, rangatira Pākehā, ko Wepiha tōna ingoa, William Webster. So Campbell actually translated this, and it was sung to him by some of the Māori people from the Hauraki area, who were very fond of Wepiha, as he was one of the most prominent Pākehā traders in the Hauraki at the time. So Hauraki is you're talking, these are people who are descendants of Waikato Tainui. I know that we do have links to that canoe. Now I do have whānau, extended relatives in the area, but I just want to read this part here. It caught my attention because something has resonated with me, and it was a very interesting point that Campbell romantically kind of tried to expand on in relation to Māori Pākehā race relations in the 1840s. Now that was a very contentious time. A lot of war, a lot of death, a lot of plague, diseases, but the utu and the violence at the time between the government of the day and the iwi Māori mana whenua, very huge, and a lot of bad things were happening. A lot of children dying, either from hunger, land wars included, and Māori children of mixed heritage with Pākehā whakapapa, Anglo-Saxon kind of white ancestry. There were lots of detrimental events and incidents that were happening that ultimately had a very either really good or really bad, but more really negative impact on their well-being. And so I just want to just read this. It's a morning chant, like a farewell chant, a cry to farewell a very important trader, as translated by Logan Campbell himself, the writer of the book Pounamu. The white man wanders in search of a home. Far from his country and friends does he roam. Tēnā kumea. He came over the water to visit our isle, and when he beheld it, his heart did smile. Tēnā kumea. Our country is good where kumara grow, and clear sparkling waters constantly flow. Tēnā kumea. He came to our chiefs to purchase some land, and blankets and guns he brought in his hand. Tēnā kumea. We gave him a planting sound, close by Waiheke and Hauraki Sound. Tēnā kumea. Now he wishes to build a large pā, and goes to buy land from great Ngāpura. Tēnā kumea. Yet for our village the Pākehā sighs, and swears that for kora he lives and dies. Tēnā kumea. Ah, kora, thou hast caught the white chief's heart and chained him to us with thy cunning art. Tēnā kumea. Now I just want to point out te whānau te iwi that tēnā kumea is a term of reference to, say, that pool. So it's a term of reference to instruct the, the native crew or the crew of explorers and warriors at the time, who were most likely, combination of Pākehā and Māori, to pull the canoe, pull it to shore. And so, what I've gathered from this translation as provided by Campbell was that Wepeha died a very tragic death. It was most likely an accident, and he was wandering, but on a journey to return back to the shores of Hauraki, and either he fell or he, flew overboard some sort of canoe. But this morning chant is actually like it's like purupuruaki. It's a way to feel well, but also acknowledge the passing of a very prominent person under a very tragic, sad circumstances. So I mentioned earlier on before that a lot of bad things happened in the 1840s. There were the land wars, there was stuff that was going down between the Māori tribes and the government, and a lot of hunger, poverty, but the utu, the violence that was going on at the time, was probably at its peak, at its highest peak. And so, I just wanted to acknowledge that the lament translated by Campbell sung to him by the local iwi, mana whenua of Hauraki, is a taonga. It is a taonga imparted to us, but it is a way of acknowledging, you know, the kaupapa, but also the people or the main characters at the time in that situation who were really instrumental in actually normalizing what it meant to have this, shared, love and hope for a better and more culturally enriched um, identity that is really um, interwoven in a lot of our waiata haka or tiatia, karakia included. And so the bicultural identity I speak of would unite to Māori and Pākehā people under one notion that we are one society, one people, he tahi tātou, moving towards a progressive, compassionate society, one that would embrace cultural difference, diversity in New Zealand as the land of wealth and opportunity. So, well, New Zealand is the land of the long white cloud, but also, a country of wealth and opportunity. And so, some of Campbell's observations were very condescending. I'm going to say that. Very condescending, really romantic. But there are things that I just want to acknowledge, just in this scenario, um, because Māori and Pākehā settling in on the early days of, exchanging, you know, manners and customs and taonga tuku iho, not just resources, but that includes oral knowledge, oral history, based from what lived experience, the good, bad, and ugly. That in itself is a taonga, truly a blessing in disguise. And so I want to just acknowledge that having this type of oral literature published in books in te reo Māori, bilingual English, sign language, in as many, languages as we can think of, that in itself is a blessing. That is a tongue as well. And so, I am really embracing of this cultural difference and this diversity. And I think that the greater access that we have to literacy, written publications on our oral tribal history, the recovery of tribal history, in English and te reo Māori, and as many languages as possible, the more um, enrichment, but actually the more regenerative the accumulation of this knowledge becomes. And so, koe rako tōku ake whakaaro. That's my own opinion, my own thought. Food for thought, everyone. And I found something else really quite funny. It was this observation that was made by Campbell about the very intense gossip amongst the young Māori virgins, or the young chieftainess, so the daughter of a rangatira Māori, so known as the Puhiariki Māori virgin, was encouraged that they married rangatira Pākehā, noble Englishmen, as a way to maintain trader connections and foster stronger, more balanced relationships with progressive Māori and Pākehā men of the trade era. Wow, gosh, that's my whakapapa, that's my tupuna all over. Um, and I think it's very common, for a lot of tamariki Māori now of mixed heritage. That includes our mokopuna from the Moana Nui Akiwa Pacific cultures, um, and other parts of the world. Um, you know, First Nations in Australia, Canada, America, and I've even heard of stories in kōrero of our whānau in Australia who now have mokopuna to people from, as far as Europe, South Africa, Turkey, Lebanon, the Middle Eastern whanaunga that we have as well. So, my point being here is that more we foster stronger, more balanced relationships with progressive Māori and Pākehā, tangata tiriti, of te ao hou, the modern world that we live in now, the more we can strive to be compassionate, but also understanding of those differences that actually enrich who we are in the value of whanaungatanga, maintaining, strengthening, enriching, reciprocity, respectful relationships, respectful blood relationships, kinship ties with other whānau and other hapu outside of Aotearoa. Hoi anō whānau, ko tēnei tōku ake whakaro, that's just my own opinion. So I'm going to give it a rest now, because I need to have a little nap, especially after reading that. Actually, I've been doing a lot of reading, but that book, published, written by Logan Campbell, was one of the first books that I had read, and it took me a long time to get down to the gist of it, because I had to unpack a lot of kupu, a lot of kōrero, but even just some of the whakaro behind the travels of this highly ambitious, flamboyant rangatira Pākehā of my karaua was, honestly, it was hilarious. Some of the observations were good, but are very romantic, and I would say highly condescending for anyone to actually think and assume that we still live like this now. But hei aha, he taonga tonu te kōrero, he taonga te puka puka.